All right, tell me your relationship problems so I can help you. So it's kind of interesting, this whole like, tell me all your relationship problems so I can help you. So funny, like when I posted that on Facebook the other day, people were like laughing. They're like, on this platform, that's the issue. You're talking about them on here. And one of my beautiful students literally like said, I've got abandonment issues, or I've got this or that. And I was like, see how you can talk about relationship problems, you know, without like telling all your problems, right? There's a certain wisdom that comes with that. And it's also a deep self-reflection. Now, for years and years and years and years and years, I have held back with publicly talking about, tell me your relationship problems so I can help you. I've had a lot of shame in a sense of, I'm not in a relationship. How can I be helping people with these problems, right? And the reality is that I'm coming out of the closet about it, because for the last 5 years online, 99.9% of my clients come to me because they have some form of relationship issue. And through me counseling and mentoring and helping and healing many clients over this 5 years, like many clients, that's all I've been doing, really. I've received so much guidance from Spirit about how to help my client, right? And they go and implement it and it works, yeah? And so this is me coming out of the closet of like, just because you're not in a relationship doesn't mean you can't help people. As an intuitive healer and life purpose mentor, I understand so much intricacies about the riverines of life, meaning the consciousness that flows through dynamics of relationships. Like, that's one of my gifts. And I teach this in Trust Intuition because it's understanding the intuitive, energetic, dynamic flow, like the consciousness flow. Like, that's what a relationship is. It's an exchange of consciousness, of energy. Yeah, and they get tangled or they're not. And one of my gifts, and this is what I teach in Trust Intuition, is understanding that energy so that it's not tangled and it's clear. So this is me coming out of the closet, being a relationship coach. Because ultimately that's what I've been doing with my clients many years. And even if they're not in a relationship and they come to me about healing an illness, because I'm an intuitive healer, they come to me because they've got some sort of health issue. We dive into that, and what unravels from that? Oh, the relationship issue from back then, because that gets stored in the body. And if you don't freaking deal with that, it's not going to shift, right? So here I am. So tell me what your relationship issues are. Tell me what your quote unquote problems are. Or if you'd like to exponentially grow your relationship or just anything along those lines. So let me, as always, share this while I'm waiting for your questions to come in. And past life presence that we are holding for the 3-day workshop next week. We start in a couple of days, actually. Next week, couple of days. Is really solely based. Again, everything always comes back to relationship, right? Your relationship with money, right? We're working with health, wealth, and love. It's your relationship to health. It's your relationship to money, to wealth. It's your relationship to love, right? Everything always comes back to a relationship. Yeah? Everything. Every single time. Always. It's a thing. Now, I just got... See, I need to concentrate while I'm multitasking this. Hang on. I forgot about that. I've been like filming all morning. So I'm like in a flow, and I don't think it's in there. And I just, was just going to have lunch, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do a live stream and then I'm going to have lunch. All right, cool. So I just posted that in there because I just got sidetracked in there. All right. Oh my goodness, come on. All right, now if I go back here, one more share and I shall check your questions. Because, you know, when I do a psychic reading, it always comes back to relationship. Relationship is the energy dynamics of the relationship, whether it's about food or whatever, like love, money, like everything. Everything, it always comes back to relationship dynamics in whatever it is, especially understanding intuition. All right, nearly there. Okay, awesome. Let me check this. This topic, I know, right? I know. So, and I've got a lot of content and stuff coming out. I've got a lot of reels that I'm creating. So you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, and a lot of reels. I'm giving like little snippets of like, I guess, relationship advice, if you may. And it's so funny, like they're 15-second reels, right? So I'm giving like real quick little easy tidbits of understanding communication, right? A relationship is made or broken through conscious communication, right? Through conscious communication and understanding the needs in a relationship. If you do not know how to communicate your needs in a relationship, it will fail. Usually, or there's discord or whatever, right? It's pretty basic. But a lot of people don't know basic communication. That's the reality of it. Yeah? So when we're understanding that, it's coming into a point of those little snippets of information that I'm sharing on my reels. It makes me laugh. People are like, you shouldn't be giving this advice, or what's the other thing they're saying? They're like, you know, saying there's all these other things. And I'm like, yeah, so if I sit there and do a 2-hour live stream because there's so much to explain about this whole topic, right? You won't sit there and watch it, but you'll watch a 15-second reel. So don't think that that's the only thing that I'm sharing advice on. Let me just pull up my live streams of like 5 hours worth if you really want to hear it. Oh, it's pretty funny actually. Okay. So, Arika, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. So I'm going through so much past trauma and mental healing, and I have no idea how to deal and process this shit. I was doing okay, and now it just keeps coming back in waves. Okay, awesome. Not awesome that you're going through that. Awesome question. Awesome sharing. So when you say, I'm going through so much past trauma, so can you just give me a bit more information? Are you not in the relationship anymore? Like, has that ended? Has that finished? And if so, how long ago did it end? Or let me know if you're still in the relationship. Would be helpful. Let's have a drink so I can put it down. So Madonna says, I've developed insecurities. I've never had issues before. He's jealous and insecure. Now I've developed this. I do not like it. I'm correcting this though. Okay, awesome. When we enter into a relationship, we sort of switch roles. You know, as an empath itself, we take on their stuff. And it's not like blaming him or it's his insecurities. It's probably a big part of it. Because what did you say? He is jealous and insecure, and now I've developed this, right? And so you've taken on he's jealous and insecure. However, we only take it on when there is that aspect in us. And it's like everybody's got those aspects in us, right? We've all got those parts. But there might be wounding and trauma around that from, you know, whatever aspect in your past life, not necessarily past life, can stem from that though. You know, and this is what we're doing in Past Life Presence next week in the 3-day masterclass. Like, so when I say past life for you just then, I meant like, you know, from your adult self now back through childhood, there might be unhealed wounds or trauma around jealousy, insecurities that might have been passed down even from your generation, like, you know, from your family, etc. lineage. You might be carrying that. It's sort of buried in you, and then you attract a partner because it's buried in you, and then you switch roles and you become that, and it's a great big mess, right? Do you see how the relationships and the relationship dynamics, it's all about energy understanding, right? Again, this is what we do in Trust Intuition. So understanding the intricacies of it. Now, when we look at, you know, that the past life and the past life presence, for example, is, you know, it's number one, clearing this, you know, from your adult self to childhood. Like there's that piece to look at, okay, and generational clearing. Then also between you and him specifically, you would want to be looking at like past lives where maybe, you know, one of you cheated on the other, or someone stole you from another, or something like that. There could have been anything in a past life that has enabled this to also play out like in the jealousy in a way, right? Do you know what I mean? like that might also be triggering it. So when we're looking at healing these sort of relationship wounds and stuff like that, it's number one, clearing the adult self, now childhood, generational lineage, and then checking past life stuff too to clear those threads out. Yeah. So yeah, we can like switch, if you may, you know. Mel says, I've given up finding anyone as it never works out, always end up feeling used. Yep. So if you always end up feeling used, you'd want to be looking at the boundaries in yourself, the self-worth that you have, and the types of people that you're letting walk all over you, if that makes sense. Yeah. Hi, Chelsea. 17 years, been with my love better than ever. Awesome. Love hearing that. Definitely cause for celebration. Yeah. Stephanie says, would love to learn to communicate more efficiently. The man I live with and in a relationship can be mean and say really hurtful things. I always feel like he's fussing at me and then I can never please him. I'm thinking that our tone of voice are a problem to an extent and he thinks I'm fussing too. I'm insecure on a lot of levels. I just want someone to love me for me. Yes, communication is a big problem. Yeah, and it's communicating and it's understanding the needs. Like, hey, you know, when I hear you call me whatever name, that really hurts my feelings. Do you mind using my name instead? For example, I actually did a reel. I think that was like my first reel that I did actually on, if you follow on Instagram or TikTok, the reels seem to come up easier. I do put them on Facebook, but I actually don't know where to find them. Yeah, if somebody is calling you names, try this, right? That's literally what I've got on my Instagram, yeah? So these ones, you'll see that they're the reels about communication. So I would definitely follow along there because they're going to give you like the little snippets that, you know, it's all well and good to like sit here and listen to like a 2-hour live stream, you know, that I do. I'm exaggerating, but some of them are 2 hours, usually an hour or more. So, you know, like we can absorb all this information and then sometimes in the moment we forget what we're supposed to say because we just listened to 2 hours of it, so to speak. But the reels are like snippets that you can start to like, you know, even if you have an argument or something and afterwards you're like, oh, I should have said that. And then you remember and then next time you do remember to say it, okay? But we have to understand that, you know, society hasn't been trained to speak consciously. Society has been trained to be kept numb. And I know we know this, right? And so when we look at consciously communicating, it's like learning, it's learning a whole new language. It's like learning a foreign language. It literally is. So when you can give yourself some slack and some credit for what you're actually doing, it can change everything. But it is a big deal around learning conscious communication. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look here. All right. So the whole thing about being insecure, like I just shared as well with the insecurities and they can flip in relationship, is also, you know, something to look at for yourself there as well. And then you said something else. Hang on, just let me bring it up here again. Hopefully I just didn't lose all the comments. Please show me all the comments. Okay, awesome. Okay. Okay, so yeah, awesome. And this is awesome reflection for you guys, right? Of everything I'm saying and then other people's comments. Chelsea says communication is massive for a relationship to work. Yeah, and like I said, society is not trained, right? Society is not trained in communicating for a reason, to keep us dumb, numb, and like slaves, basically, right? Okay, and when you said as well, Stephanie, like, you know, says hurtful things and stuff and, you know, in the tone of voice, like it's definitely that. And if you watch my reels, it is the energy you bring to the table in a conversation. Like today's one I just did is like, you know, you never spend time with me anymore. Like, of course you're going to be, it's like, you know, like, whereas like, you know, hey, I remember when we said we were going to have date nights, like, is there something going on? Like, you know, can we work this out together? Is that something we can organize? Like, it's a total different energy. It's not like, you did that. Look at this, right? We can bring a neutral energy to the table and talk in needs and feelings and know like you did this or you did that. It's kind of like when I hear you say my name like that, you know, this is how I feel. Can you please? And then you're requesting for that need, right? So it's a whole language to learn, right? So yeah. So Arika says, I was in 2 DV relationships. I have 2 kids. With the last relationship I was in, left in November, and we have to co-parent, and he's very narcissistic, so it's difficult. Okay, do you have a parenting order or a domestic violence order in place at all? If you can let me know. Arika? I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. And then you said, I never really took time before going into the second relationship. Okay, awesome that you know that, realize that. So those past behaviors obviously carry into the next, 100%. And our relationship fell apart after having kids, really. Money issues and everything. Yeah, so any issue can do it. But if it's like, you know, if you went into second relationship and all those behaviors, you know, we do repeat patterns until we learn them, so to speak. But also, you know, like when you say our relationship fell apart when having kids and money, like issues and all that sort of thing, it's like, yeah, but, you know, I want to say that those issues would have been there before, they just would have been hidden, if that makes sense, right? Erica. Okay, Erica, thank you. You know, so it's kind of like this, it's almost like this second relationship has been like I want to say a second chance to actually deal with deal with the issues. Yeah, not easy lessons, but yes. Madonna says lots of shadow work being done at the moment. He's triggered things no one else has. Yes. Yes, that happens when we have our twin flame and soulmate show up in the same person. That's what happens, and it triggers those deep family wounds and those childhood wounds that we haven't dealt with, so that we can grow into that person that's inside of ourselves. So yeah, shadow work, I would check out the family, like I would check out your childhood, like where else did this stuff get triggered? Like if whatever's he's triggering in you, ask the question for yourself, like where did this happen in childhood? Where was this same feeling that came up in childhood? Is a good way to sort of go into that. Stephanie, yeah, so Erica said shitty childhood too, so it's a mess. Yeah, and you're just here ready to start dealing with it. Yeah, like I think we get to a point where we're just like running away from trauma and abuse, and then we kind of hit this space and we're like, oh my God, I've just been running away my whole life. I've just been dealing with this my whole life. And in those moments, you're realizing that because it's time to shift that. Yeah, it's not easy. That's why you're here and that's what it's at. Yeah. 70 says, I would love to know about my past lives and how it's playing out in current reality. Yeah, that's what we get to do in Past Life Present. So the 3-day masterclass, it starts in 3 days. So in a couple of days, oh my God, that's 4. Starts in 3 days. And yeah, we dive into all those things. The link is in the title of the comments. Title of this live stream. I'm going to pop it in the comments as well for you. And if you scroll down on my page, you'll see it on my page as well there. So Madeline says, with my phone and messaging, I actually get addicted to messaging my partner. And what I do is just tell myself, Maddie, leave it 5 minutes, and 5 minutes come and I'll say to myself 5 minutes more. Yes. I don't know if this is healthy for myself or not, but it delays me being super attached and obsessive. And being gutted if a partner does not think of me or invite me or consider me. They possibly do, but there's no way in showing the words or actions. So I know I get gutted and upset because I really show people when I care and value them. My expression is loud and not so much my partner's. Yes. Okay, so there's a process called leaning back. So number one, yes, leave it 5 minutes, leave it 5 minutes more. Yes, but there's a deeper sense going on. It's like the need for validation, the need to be loved in the way that you give love. And that's not always the way. The way we usually give love is the way that we need to be loved, but we're not usually, rarely can be with a partner that gives us the love that way, but that's up to us to give to ourselves. So leaning back, but we have to be, I want to say, be solid in ourselves. And sometimes, and the other thing that's so important, this is like huge, right? whenever we're exhibiting behaviors that we're just like addictive or obsessive or whatever the things are, right? And it's so important to check if we've switched roles. Have we taken on their energy? Are we playing out them? Now, again, this is not about blaming them, because there's some aspect in us, like I was sharing before for Madonna, I think, that I was sharing it about, is like we switch roles, but we only switch roles in the relationship. Like we can be the confident, laid back, chilled one, and we get in a relationship, and then we're like, all our jealousy and insecurities and neediness comes up, but that's how they were in the start, right? And then we've become that, right? And it only switches, I want to say, because we've got an aspect in that needs to be healed for us, and you know, within us, if that makes sense. So it's like checking that and, you know, seeing if you've switched roles in a way, and then also looking at that deeper aspect in childhood. Where did I feel these same feelings in childhood? Now, you might not be on the phone like that, you know, with like in childhood, for example, but those feelings, if you drop into those feelings of like, oh, gonna lose them, or whatever the thing is, like, what is that feeling? Okay. And you're interested in intuition, Madeline. So module 8 coming up is going to be super helpful in clearing out this wound and really like diving into the deepest aspect to be able to heal that. But it's like asking that same question, like, you know, when, where did that feeling, where does this feeling remind me of in my past, right? It might take a bit, it might drop in straight away, or it might not. Yeah. So yeah, and it's leaning back. It's kind of like we get obsessive about their life, or, you know, needing the connection or attachment, because we're not fucking living our life. We're making everything about them and the relationship. And whilst that, you know, is important, and we need to have a, you know, a relationship together. That's why you're in a relationship, but it's not your be all and end all, right? A healthy relationship is two people come together, but they're still living their own life, not like this. Yeah? So go and live your own life. But it's like, when you're in a relationship, do you trust yourself living your own life without them, so to speak? Yeah? Madonna says, thank you, never thought of past issues before. Yes, it's a big deal, right? It's definitely a big deal. Like it's deep like that, you know, it's like the layers. It's like current reality. It's like, then it's your adult life and your childhood life and all the family generational stuff. And then it's deeper in the subconscious of the past lives. It's definitely like the steps you need to check with. And that's, yeah, again, what we do in the third eye chakra consciousness in the advanced. So the chakra consciousness is that I teach, which you get access to in the inner circle. They're the advanced psychic development, the, you know, advanced chakra consciousness. They're the advanced, like, spiritual healing, if you may. The third eye chakra consciousness, we go deep into all of that, because third eye is all about relationships. It's past lives, future lives, present lives. It's the relationship dynamics. It's mediumship, dreamscape, like all, like there's so many aspects to the third eye consciousness, and understanding the layers of relationship and relating through the layers of reality, going into interdimensional and into past lives and beyond. It's all still connected. Just because we're like here in physical reality and the stars are up there, it's not like it's separate. Do you know what I mean? And it all plays in with all the threads. Yeah. All right, I was gonna pop the link in for the past life presence that I said I would before. And this masterclass starts on Wednesday, so you can check out the links for that. I'm just gonna check the rest of these questions/comments here. Dan says, I think it's so hard when it seems like a person takes advantage of your insecurities and turns it onto the one that has insecurities, and the total dismissal of your feelings. Yeah, and so that's a very, what's the word? It's a very intricate piece, okay? And there's so many layers to what you just said then, and it's so awesome that you brought this up. One thing I'm going to share, because I could write a book on all the pieces of that one sentence that you said, right? As an empath, okay, let's just say you got two people, and you come together and it's all roses, and then stuff starts to come up, because that's what happens in a relationship. You either work through the stuff or you disappear, okay? One thing as an empath, this is like so important to remember, guys, because if you're here, you're an empath, you're a healer, you're psychic, you're intuitive, you feel everything, you're sensitive, you're one of us, okay? or you just wouldn't be here. You're super sensitive, okay? What are super sensitive people have to fucking remember, okay? Just gonna share this, okay? Two people come together, beautiful relationship, okay? Whatever. Stuff comes up, you still work through it, you're still together. Okay, I'm just gonna give an example. This person goes off to a party. This person loves this person. They're together with this person. They're like chosen this person, like they're together. But for some reason they go off to this party by themselves because of this person's busy or whatever, right? This person, this is a male, this is a female. This person speaks to a female. Now, there's like a spark or a connection there together. There's a soul connection, like they get along, like, you know, and someone could look at it as though flirting, but I'm not going to the flirting level. I'm just going to like, they're like, wow, like you're awesome and you're a soul connection, or it might not even be conscious like that, right? But there's a connection there, okay? This person, this super sensitive empath person will feel that connection. This is so important to remember. You will feel that connection. This person might not even be conscious like you, for example, okay? But they've connected with this person, they're chatting, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing like sinister about it, okay? Let me be clear about that. There's nothing sinister about it. This person loves this person, wants to be with this person, etc., okay? There's nothing sinister about what this person's doing. There's just a connection that's been made and they're like, wow, you're awesome, blah, they're just chatting, whatever. But there's a definite connection there, right? But it's nothing sinister, bad, they don't want to, whatever, okay? As a sensitive empath, you will feel that connection and you will feel your partner talking to them. It might sound crazy, but as an empath and being so connected to somebody, you will feel it. And if you do not understand the intricacies of your intuition and how sensitive you are as an empath and beyond, and understand the dynamics of how your intuition speaks to you, and this is when we feel other people's energy and we're able to decipher that before it gets worse and blah, blah, blah. If you do not understand those intricacies as an empath, what happens is that you will immediately, all your insecurities will come up. You'll be like, you're cheating on me or whatever's happening or something happened. I could feel it, like whatever the story is, right? And then it's like the trust is broken or whatever, but actually this person didn't do anything wrong. They were just talking. It was just a thing, right? But because you're so sensitive, you feel that. So sometimes, right? So when you said there, Dan, you said, I think it's so hard when it seems like a person takes advantage of your insecurities and turns it onto the one that has insecurities and the total dismissal of your feelings. Now, it is a fine line, okay? Because if this person was purposely flirting, well, then that's a different story when they're going to come back and, you know, when we go through this, okay? But when that person was genuinely like that, you as a sensitive person and empath need to be able to decipher where that line is, where that level was. Was that just you as a highly sensitive empath that really just picked up they were just talking to somebody else? Or was there actual sinister feelings? I'm calling them sinister, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? Where there was actually intentions of wanting to be with somebody else, okay? Like you can definitely decipher that, but you have to be clear in yourself, and it's very intricate, and this is why relationships are messy. This is why understanding your intuition and the way your intuition works as a sensitive empath and highly, you know, psychic sensitive person that you are, starseed, like earth, like blooded healer, whatever you are, like this is why it's so important, because when we get in relationship, we feel all the intricacies. And if you do not know how to interpret them, ends in a mess. Or insecurities come up and it takes them over 10 minutes. Yeah? So it's tricky, okay? Then there's the fine line, Dan, like you'd said. I think it's so hard when it seems like a person takes advantage of your insecurities and turns it onto the one that has insecurities and the total dismissal of your feelings. That usually happens when that person was doing something sinister. However, if trust has been broken time and time again, they're just going to be over it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes a person genuinely wants to be with you and all these insecurities come up and you don't trust them. But actually, in that case, usually it's because you don't trust yourself, because actually you know the relationship was wrong for you and you continued anyway. It's a big one. Now, when somebody does give you a total dismissal of your feelings as well, it is so important. Again, there's another fine line, and that's why from what one sentence you said is so deep, yeah? I could write a book just on that one paragraph you wrote, right? That one sentence. And this is where it comes into you knowing where your line is, because a total dismissal of your feelings and calling you crazy or whatever, like that steps into the narcissistic abuse, and that's not acceptable. And so there are fine lines around here. Yeah? There are fine lines with that. So really important, you know, and that's just like a tiny snippet, if you may, okay? But hopefully that can help you to start questioning, if you ever feel those sorts of things, that you can start questioning, you know, like tuning into the different layers of what you are actually just feeling, because it's deep, yeah? So Erica says, I've never explored my past lives. It would be very interesting to find that out. Yes, it's very healing. It's definitely very healing. Can help the patterns and contracts stop in this life. Yeah, so we're not repeating stuff. So Elena says, moving on without closure when the connection is so strong. Okay, when the connection is so strong and you're trying to move on, number one, there's a couple of stages here. There's always stages. There's always intricacies of everything, okay? So I'm giving you like a short version of it. Moving on without closure when the connection is so strong. Number one, you need to grieve and bawl your fucking eyes out. Number two, usually the connection is so strong because for a moment in time, that person showed you so much love that you've never felt loved by anyone ever before. Ever. You've never felt such a soul spark connection and like all of your being has just been loved for the first time in your entire life. That's usually why the connection is so strong. And then when they walk away and there's no closure, it is like death to the soul. What is actually going on here is that that person has become a reference point for love. Now, when my mentor years ago once said this to me, it went straight over the top of my head. I was like, yeah, back in my stuff. But it stuck with me. And it grew in me like a big oak tree. That person showed you so much love because you've never felt that from any of your family or in your entire life ever before. You've never felt that before. But that person has now become a reference point for love. And now you get to grow and cultivate that love in yourself. Because all relationship issues stem from a lack of self-love. And we don't love ourselves enough, so we attract and we settle for less and blah, blah, blah. Okay? When we learn to love ourselves, then our entire life changes. We have boundaries, standards, we don't drop them for anything because we love ourselves more than going back down that path. However, society has been trained not to know what love feels like, hence the trauma and all the chaos in families where kids are being raised. 99.9% of population, right? So when we go through life and we're in all this trauma and pain and then we meet someone and like they love our full being like we've never ever actually ever experienced before, and then like whatever happens and then they disappear or whatever happens in the story and we can't let go of them, it's because that's the first person ever to show us what love feels like. And there's so many layers to this, okay? But that's one of the biggest pieces. It took me a while to understand what it meant to cultivate love within myself and for myself and feel for myself, etc., etc. But that man that once did that to me, that I felt that, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's took me ages to release that relationship. And there was many bawling the eyes out, crying on the kitchen floor, so to speak. That deep-seated grief. It's understanding that that level of love and feeling that level of soul connection is a starting point for your life to feel like that. Because up until that point, it was just trauma and pain and abuse and running and and then this person's come and shown you this love and you're like, oh my God, and it still might be trauma and pain and stuff, but what that has done is it's like put a pin in the map or something. I don't know how to describe it. It's like put a pin in the map. This is now what love feels like. And now from now on, that's only going to grow. Because up until that point, you didn't know this was pain and trauma, more pain and trauma, more pain and trauma, so to speak. And now you've got a pin in the map, you've got a point, you've got a reference point, and now that love starts to grow. And of course you're going to be pining back for this because you don't know anything else yet. You've only known this, and this was the game changer. And so when you're moving forward, this is expanding even though it doesn't feel like it because we're still missing this point. But when we can understand that this is a reference point for love and we get to cultivate that within ourselves and become that level of love, self-love, because up until that point, our soul was empty. Our vessel was empty of love. We didn't know what that was. We got a tiny snippet of it. And now we're like, oh, how do I get that back again? We think it's that person. But they were only reflecting what life is. Definitely takes time. But that's why, if you may. Yeah? Madeline says, I also can get overwhelming for my partners because I communicate about everything and they process and they need process time and go slower. I find it hard to balance what I need and they need because they will sometimes just avoid to and hope for the happy times, but I don't want conversation or confrontation or to face open talking about our feelings and feelings differently, but they don't want to. The reality is that men don't usually. Unless you've got a full conscious man who's done a lot of work, they usually don't. And then one day there's a man that will, and he'll be the one in a way, right? But what's really important is that as women, and this is part of the leaning back, that we don't share everything. Because any woman can be overwhelming for a man if we just blah it all out all the time. That's overwhelming for anybody. That's a lack of boundaries and a lack of self-awareness of yourself. Yeah? So when you can know what to share and what's appropriate and what's not, things will change. It's not that you're hiding yourself. It's that you're learning boundaries with self, with God, and then other people. It's the honesty thing. It's divine step number 1, honesty. We share it with God, with ourselves, and other people. We get all these amazing feelings and all this stuff, and then we're like, we share it with God, we share it with ourselves in our journal, and then do I need to actually communicate it to them, or do I just have this beautiful bubble of all this awareness, and this is just who I am, and I don't need to share it because then it bounces off through my energy, and it's amazing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, I haven't posted in the Transcendence Reality Society group yet. So that'll be dropped before we go live. Don't worry about that. What was I just going to say there? Yeah, so if you want to join the inner circle, guys, you get access to all the courses I release. You get access to all meditations, to training, to the full moon ceremonies. So Transcendence Reality Society, I'll pop that link in as well. You guys can have a look at that. That's where you can get access to everything. Just gonna pop that in. Okay, so Leah says, I've always been a communicator, but they often hear what they want to hear, not what you are trying to put across. That can be tricky because, again, like, unless you know like nonviolent communication and understand how to communicate needs and wants, sometimes it is tricky. But sometimes people aren't willing to hear as well. So it is very tricky. But it's also, you know, what I love, and I've worked with this through parenting, you know, the whole time as well. It's like, you know, instead of like, well, you need to do this, or I need to do this, or it's not that, or it's blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is what's going on. How can we work this out together? And then you shut the fuck up. Men take longer to process. Women will be like, blah, 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 and all this information streaming through. If you just say in clear terms, in a sentence or two, and then how can we work this out together? And then shut the fuck up and wait for the reply, because it takes a bit to process, and that's not in a mean way, right? Like I said, unless you've got a full conscious man in front of you that's done a lot of work and is like right there with you on the same consciousness level, it just takes a little bit. Yeah? How can we work this out together? And just let it go. Just wait. Yeah. Okay, so Erica says, I have custody, but I don't have any on paper. I have custody. Yeah, so the reason I asked you that, Erica, is because having the narcissistic emotional stuff with parenting, one of the cleanest ways to like be done with it is through domestic violence and parenting orders. It's a huge process. No one wants to go through it. But if you're really serious about shifting the energy and shifting it, that's the road you want to walk down. So I'm not sure if you're in Australia or not, but in Australia, there's, if you just Google, and I'm sure you can do it wherever you are too, like Google Women's Domestic Violence Helpline. Now, even though, you know, you might not qualify for a DV order, or you might, you know, because it's all emotional. I had 2 of them over the years when my daughter was really young, and it was all emotional. It was never physical. So just to be clear, like domestic violence is also the narcissistic emotional abuse. Like it's actually labeled on the things. So, you know, but if you ring them as a starter, they will be able to guide you through the whole process, which way to go. Like, you know, they're awesome. That's what their job is. So, yeah, that would be something I definitely recommend. And, you know, because we can do past life meditations and we can do all this stuff, but if we don't have those strong boundaries in place, none of it really works. Yeah. Okay, Blender Towers. Any more advice on twin flames? We're both working on ourselves as friends, and I'm trying to be patient, but I get frustrated. Can I just confirm, is Blender still here before I answer that one? So Anik says he needs to cut the umbilical cord. I won't settle being the third wheel. Yep, good. Dan says, yep, somehow I became codependent, but in an addictive way. Yeah, codependency is an addiction. That's all it is. And it's just bringing up our feelings of childhood that just need to be healed. That's all. No feeling safe myself was what was driving. I nailed it. Yes. Ashley says, having a lot of like visions and dreams, but they haven't come true yet. But they've been very strong lately. Is that about a relationship particularly, or just visions and dreams of your life? If you can just clarify that, Ashley. I'm just scrolling through the comments. I'm seeing a lot of comments here. I'm just seeing if Blender's still here. Okay, cool. I just wanted to check that before I answer this. Okay, Blender said, any more advice about twin flames? We're both working on ourselves as friends, and I'm trying to be patient, but I get frustrated. Blender, you're a female, right? Please excuse my ignorance of my name. I tried to like look at your profile picture. But so Blender is like your name. I've just never heard it before, and I just want to make sure that you're a female before I rant on. So I don't know, like there's definitely friendships that I've seen over the years that have turned into beautiful, loving relationships. However, you need to tune into your intuition. Sometimes friend zone don't go anywhere. You're a female. Okay, awesome. So it's like Blender. I just hadn't heard that name before. So if you've been friend zoned by a man, usually there's no going back with that. But like I said, I've seen friendships that have blossomed into beautiful soulmate relationships. So you need to trust your intuition over what I'm saying. But when you say we're both working on ourselves as friends and I'm trying to be patient, but I get frustrated, like if you're the one sort of like pushing or sort of thing, like you're, you know, oh, he says we need to do more work and okay, I'm going to do more work. Like he's controlling you, number one. Number two, when a man wants you, you will know. When a man wants to be in a relationship with you and wants you, you will not be questioning it. You will be not chasing it. You will be not second guessing it. You will fucking know. When a man wants a woman, he makes certain she knows. Plain and simple. Now, maybe that's not true and you need to tune in for yourself with everything I just said. And sometimes cold, hard realities are that. Yeah. So true. Can't be friends with an ex. Yeah, I know there's people that have friendships with an ex, but I can't do that either. Yeah. Yep. So Ashley says, I think about a relationship, the visions and dreams I have, a strong connection with somebody, me and him, and I think he might be thinking about me because we didn't end things well, we haven't talked in a while, so I don't know, I've been feeling his energy. Yeah, I would trust that. And that's why I just asked, because every situation is different with energies and dynamics and blah, 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 right? So, you know, like when you do feel that, and so sometimes if the relationship ended, you know, we're just not speaking anymore for whatever reason, but then you're feeling him, or you're having dreams about him, and you're getting back together in the dream or whatever it is, sometimes that's like a visit, like, you know, like you are together in the dream, it's because like that's what him and you are thinking about, but the conscious communication isn't there to make it happen, so to speak. But, you know, it's like, it can be that. So a couple of things, and you just said something here. You won't have to chase, that's why I'm single right now. Exactly right. And this is the thing. And Blender says he wants more but isn't ready for a relationship. Oh, well, you're going to wait around and see, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's it, only you can make that decision. Yeah. So, and that's the thing, like he wants more but isn't ready for a relationship. And so it's kind of like, where is the friends or the, you know, relationship thing? Because some people don't want a relationship, but they don't want to be on their own, and they'll keep you hanging so they're not alone. I'm too scared to be totally alone, and I'm just going to keep you here just in case. But if someone better comes along, I'll be fucking over here and say, actually, I don't want a relationship with you. You need to be careful of that too. But only you will know that, right? So Ashley says, I think he was a twin flame. Yeah, there can be those twin flame relationships. Okay, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. In the next week or so, I am releasing a 21-day, I don't know what I'm calling it yet. It's a 3-week something. I don't know, there's a name for it. But the name is Twin Flames, Soulmate Relationships, and Divine Love Union. And we're going to dive into this in a 3-week container together. It's like a course. It's like, we're going to do live streams. We're going to do all the things, right? But we're going to specifically dive into twin flames, soulmates, and divine love union. And I'm just saying that because you've said it a couple of times now, and I'm going to go deep into this. It'll be $333. If you're in the inner circle, you're going to get instant access to this. But I'm telling you guys now because I'm like, there's so much that I want to say. And, you know, that's coming through, right? And because when you say, like, I think it might have been a twin flame relationship. And, you know, the thing about that is when you meet someone and there's that strong, you know, it's a twin flame, it's a fire, it creates fucking havoc in your life, brings all your shit up, blah, blah, blah. I do believe that those relationships can turn healthy, but a lot of the time, both aren't ready for commitment. And both come together and they're like sorting out all their shit. And, you know, and I love that you're not chasing anymore, Ashley, as well, because, you know, like if a man wants to be with you, he'll fucking be with you. And he won't be too scared to like commit to a relationship, or he won't be too scared to like do what, like, do you know what I mean? Like when a man is ready, a man is ready. And if a man's not ready, move the fuck on with your life, because you're waiting a whole lifetime and dying wondering like, what happened? In a way, I don't know. So do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so the thing I was going to say to you as well, Ashley, when, you know, like you talk about, I think you might have been twin flame, and there's all this like dream connection, like energetically you're still together. And especially if it didn't end well, like up to you, right? But it might be worth having conscious communication to close off the space. Because you can do energetic work like cutting cords and all those sorts of things. But in, you know, like that sort of energy dynamic, and there's not been communication to end it. Sometimes even just from your end, a conscious like closing off can be helpful. Whether it's heard or not is irrelevant to the fact of like you're doing the closing as well. Yeah, so it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. Madeline says that's actually so common, that holding space so not alone. Yeah. Yep. It's confronting, but I'm learning it more and more to check in with myself. Yeah, 100%. Sign me up. You're meant to be focusing on trust intuition. Well, dropped out. Technically, I want to say you're like, I'm supposed to be focusing on trust and intuition. I'm like, well, technically we're going into the advanced third eye chakra consciousness, which you have access to in trust and intuition. So technically we're doing trust and intuition because it's the relationship dynamics, right? And it's obviously very alive for you because you're here. So, all right, I think I might have missed some questions. Let me just run back through. I think some of them might have gone. I'm just going to make sure. So I'm sorry if I missed any because it's not letting me scroll back through. That just hit hard. 70 said yes. Madonna said, this is the question I ask myself regularly. Yes, okay. Was it your intuition or your trauma seeing the flooding? Yes, exactly right. I think someone must have written that. I can't see that comment. I'm sorry, guys. It's disappeared. So if there's something that I've missed that is really important, if you can type it in again. So Karen says it might be your partner is being innocent, only being friendly. The other person might not be innocent. Yeah, so that's the thing, and this is where it's so intricate. Is it your partner that's being innocent? Is it that person that doesn't know that they're with a partner and so they're like wanting more? Or like, you know, we as an empath, we pick up all of that, and this is why in Trusted Intuition, understanding of what I teach in Trusted Intuition, you know, is so important. Like I have people like. I had someone say to me about trust and intuition, like, oh my God, do I really have to learn all of this to trust on my intuition? I'm like, we don't have to, you can just leave. But if you want to understand the depth, the skills and the intricacies, you'll want to be in trust and intuition, right? It's not something you just learn overnight and you get overnight. This is like training over a period of time to really sink in, just like school, for example, right? Not that we wanted to be at school, but you know what I mean. So Kerry says, my partner of 25 years, I feel like we complement each other. Took a long time for me to pull back. See? I'm an empath and he is my queen. I feel he came to me to teach me to accept me as is. Exactly, right? It's like, it's for us to step into that, to step back, to, you know, and understand our energy because our energy plays a big part in it. And again, it's not about blaming or pointing the finger or anything like that, but it's so important for us to understand these energy dynamics in ourselves. Get it, right? 2 years of grieving. Yeah, it does. It takes time, Joy. It does. It really, really does. Erica says, you got it and it happened to me just recently. Yes, right? So Zach says, separated because I was addicted to drugs. Now I've been clean and got my shit together. We're still married, but I don't think she'll ever take me back. I never hit her or lied or cheated. I'm just doing everything I think was right. I just wish she would let me back in. I love her so much. We have a child together. I get him every weekend. Happy about it too. Awesome. Is Zach still here? Curious about if Zach's still here. Yeah, Erica says, I felt that for the first time and now he just got in a relationship with someone else. And this is what happens, right? And you're going, oh, I don't want to keep doing this. So you're choosing to look at this now, yeah? Joy said, I used to run when healthy people loved me because it was unfamiliar. I didn't love myself. I still cry over that 10 years later. Yeah, it's a big one, right? I definitely know that one too. Self-love is everything. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Ashley says, yes, I've had a connection like that, but he doesn't talk to me though, and it does bug me. I've learned to accept it, whatever it's meant to be. Yeah, and so I'd look at, you know, it is like, you know, cutting that off, and, you know, it is a thing when we've had that, and they're just, it's, I don't know if it's scared of commitment, scared of relationships, scared of what it brings up, scared of what our energy brings up in them, or vice versa. Like, you know, it's not a he said, she said type scenario, but yeah. Madeline says, huge learning happening for me at the moment. Thank you. It's coming up heaps about the way, how, and what I share or don't share. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing about keeping it for yourself and letting yourself just be that energy rather than like burning it out everywhere and then you losing that energy. Like, you know what I mean? Like losing that life force of that realization of the wisdom of who you are, if that makes sense. This is where we get to master that energy, yeah? Just checking these comments. Right, I don't think Zach's still here. I still want to speak to things if people aren't still here because it's just energy. Is Michelle still here? Michelle Blake? Stephanie says yes. Emotional abuse can be just as bad as physical abuse. Fucking oath. Ugh. Had past relationship with both. Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. Okay, Michelle's here. Awesome. It does include relationships with our children. Yes, it does, this conversation. So Michelle says, my daughter is 15 years old, has gone to live with her dad full-time indefinitely, and says we need a counsellor before we live together. Her dad didn't have much to do with her growing up, so I've been confronted with a lot of sadness and fear and feelings that I'm not enough. I miss her and I'm feeling in fear of losing her, but I know this is probably happening for myself, healing as much as him and her just deciding that she's with him full-time. Gut-wrenching, right? Heart ripped out and pushed into the ground and just gonna step on it a little bit more, right? Like, fuck. Hugest feelings in the world that would bring up. If she hasn't had her dad growing up, she's going to be savoring this time with him now. It's not easy, okay? But it's like a couple of things to remember. She has you as a conscious mother. She will always have you as a conscious mother. She's experiencing her soul and her life journey, and she has chosen this with you as a conscious mother and him as her father, in whatever capacity that's been and is now. She's also chosen this experience. Yeah? When you say I'm in fear of losing her, I want to say that you might lose her for a bit. But I want to say over time, at some point in her life, she will wake up to whatever capacity and she'll go, fuck, mum. You will always be her mum. It might take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But you have to remember, you'll always be her mum. And at some point, she will, quote unquote, remember you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you didn't raise her and have all that experience with her for that to just, like, be forgotten. In an age developmental of children as well, there's like different age developmental stages, and we go through this deeply in trust intuition because it's understanding how we grow up, how society grows up, how that all interplays as well in the energy dynamics of everything we've been talking about. You know, like where she's at is really finding herself. And if she hasn't had her father there for several years, he's like the masculine energy is the leader, the guidepost, the action taker. This is who I am in the world. That's the masculine energy. And if she hasn't had that, that's why I should just be like in it right now, if that makes sense. Yeah. So as hard as it is, grieve, do your inner work, etc. But they're key points to always remember. Yeah. All right, just checking these comments. They can come back around for a healthy relationship after working on themselves. Yeah. There's working on yourself and then there's working on yourself. Yeah. I got told by my beautiful friend that 333 were my numbers. I love it. Love that. Yeah, 100%. Thank you for saying that. If they really want you, they will chase you. Like, they will go for it. They will make excuses more or less. And it's true. Yeah, 100%. I think that's why I'm single right now. Because I have a strong connection, but don't want to settle. It's meant to be with him or somebody better. It will happen exactly, right? It's like that point of the love like we spoke about earlier on this live stream. I'm not sure where you came in, but it's like that pinpoint of love. And now you get to experience more because now you know what that's like, and it just expands. The seed grows into the oak tree. Yeah, it's like, and he'll either rise to that with you or somebody else will meet you there. Yeah. Yeah, it's a long time. The 2 years. Yep, it's a long time. Really appreciate all your live streams. You're awesome. You're so welcome, Karen. Michelle says, years, I was imagining weeks. It could be weeks. But if you have the expectation of years, right? Some people wouldn't agree with me because you're like, oh, you're manifesting it. So if you have the expectation of years, when she comes back in a couple of weeks, she'll be like, oh, thank God, all my prayers and me pulling my energy back and me doing my inner work has created a beautiful space that she wants to come back with. Because the other side of that is, yeah, and I don't know more intricate details, and this is what I work with my clients, and we go deep into this, but, you know, like, if she's had you and a certain lifestyle and the way she's lived, and then she goes to a, I don't know, more strict or a different sort of reality with her dad, she might be like, oh, I don't like it here, take me back, like, you know, so anything can happen. But if you expect years, when she comes back in a couple of weeks, she'll be fucking thanking God like anything. You're so welcome, Blenda. It's definitely eye-opening. I knew, right? Started 50-50, which was a big adjustment, definitely. So hoping that would resume again sooner rather than later. And it could, right? It could. If you do the work, if you stay in connection to yourself, and if you're not in that needy energy, because she'll be feeling that too, and if you just can send her love. And this is the biggest thing, Michelle. If you trust your daughter with her decisions, even energetically, rather than being in your like, oh, she's left and I'm really upset. Like, of course you need to acknowledge those feelings in yourself, okay? They're important, okay? But if you, once you've grieved that and you've gone into this space of like, I trust my daughter's choices. I trust that she is learning exactly what it is. I would rather trust my daughter than feel her choices. And if you can step into trust, that energy in the relationship space energetically can also, like, she feels it all, okay? And if you can start even affirming, I'm trusting my daughter's choices. My daughter is turning into an adult. I'm trusting her choices right now. Like, those sorts of things would be really important for you to work on. Leah says, my son went through this and lived with his dad when he was an older teenager because he didn't get on with my then current partner as he was horrible to him. My sons didn't have anything to do with him from 2 years old. He lived with him for a couple of years and got to learn what his dad was really like without me telling him exactly. Sometimes they need to experience why we're not with them. Yeah? And if we don't give them that space to do that, they will end up in relationships like that. And the reason you left the relationship in the first place will be gone to waste because your kids will be repeating patterns. But we've broken that pattern. And when we give our children the full trust to choose their choices of, like, going with her dad, for example, right? That enables her to see why from her perspective, because we can tell someone something our whole time and then they experience it and then they're like, oh, now I know what you're talking about. We all know this, right? We don't listen, but we experience it and we're like, oh fuck, I get it now. Yeah. So, you know, it gives her, you're giving her, I don't know what the right words are, like, you're giving her an understanding of what relationships are and not. You know, it's hard to describe, but there's so much I could go into details about that. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Leah. Love that you did that too. Kay says, my youngest son's father took his life in 2018. I eventually gave what was left of my heart to a new man and I'm broken for him. So it sounds like you've got a lot of grieving to do there. It's so important to let yourself grieve, like howling on the kitchen floor, grief. Yeah, could go on for 18 months. Let yourself have that space or it will never shift. Yeah. Leah says, you just have to show her you support her in her choices and know that she can come back at any time and that door will always be open. Exactly. Exactly, right? Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Why is it so hard to walk away when you know you need to, you can't move on or not? That's a lot of, like, there's a lot of layers to that. You know, and I'd definitely be doing like what I recommend in Do I Stay or Do I Go, my audio, like if you're wondering to leave a relationship or not, do I stay or do I go? Like, do all the inner work yourself and then that question will become clear. And it will become easier to walk away or not when you do that inner work. Yeah, it's really important. I think it's called Learning the Hard Way or the School of Hard Knocks. Yeah, yes and no. I think it's also creating wisdom and experience in a way, you know? Yeah. But it's not easy. That's right. School of Hard Knocks. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Past Life Present starts in a couple of days. The link is pinned to the top of this live stream, and it's also on my page. You can find it on Facebook. If you get stuck, send me a message and I shall see you in there. Twin Flames, Soulmates, and Divine Love Union coming right up in a couple of weeks. It's a 3-week container, accelerator, shifter. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet. It's 333. It's going to be deep. It's going to be yummy. It's going to bring all these things in. I don't know. I just like feel it all, and it's like streaming through me, and I'm coming out of the closet. I'm like, this is what I've been helping my clients with for the past 5 years. I'm like, I got to share this stuff. So yeah, here we go. Keep an eye out for that. See you guys real soon.